Assalamu alaikum, students.
Walaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Please enter with your full name or with ID or both. Don't enter as iPhone or something else. Okay, because we have to take the attendance, we will not know who is the person. So enter with your name. Okay, today we'll discuss about one more topic of the heart, that is the conducting system as well as the fibrous skeleton. So these are the two important topics we'll cover. So these are the specific objectives. List the various components of the fibroskeleton of the heart. Mention the components and location of the conducting system of the heart, as well as we will also study the nerve supply of the heart itself. To begin with, we'll first discuss the fibroskeleton of the heart. So what is this fibroskeleton? As you know, every structure has a skeleton, as we ourselves have a skeleton, okay, which gives the shape as well as the contour to the body. Similarly, even the heart has a skeleton, but it is fibrous in nature. It is not bony, but it is fibrous. That's why it is called as fibrous skeleton of the heart, because there are no bones in the heart, only fibrous skeleton is there. It consists of 4 fibrous rings at the bases of both the ventricles. Okay, it is between the junction between the atrium and the ventricles. Okay, around the right and left atrioventricular orifice. Okay, so these are the atrioventricular orifice at the junction between the atrium and the ventricle. So there is a orifice. Orifice means opening. So the atrioventricular orifice on both the right and left side, as well as the pulmonary as well as the aortic orifice, pulmonary and aortic orifice. Where there are openings, there is a fibrous skeleton. Okay, so that will give the shape and contour. If you see here, so this is the opening. These are the orifice, and around these are the orifice openings. Around that, this is the fibrous ring. Okay, so it is the right atrioventricular orifice. Here will be the left atrioventricular orifice. Around that there is a fibrous ring, and around the pulmonary as well as the aortic orifice openings also. Okay, these will keep the openings always intact as well as open, so they don't collapse. If they collapse, then again the heart needs extra energy to open the orifice and then push the blood. So these fibroskeleton prevents that, and they always keep these openings as open. Okay, but they are guarded by the valves later. Okay, so this fibroskeleton is nothing but the 4 fibrous rings at the bases of the ventricles around the right and left atrioventricular orifice, pulmonary orifice, as well as the aortic orifice. This is how it looks like. So you can imagine it will be here between the atrium and the ventricles. So at the junction between the atrium and the ventricles, you can see the fibrous skeleton. It is continuous distally with the membranous part of the interventricular septum. So it will continue in between also down as a small extension, that is called as the interventricular septum. There is a membranous part as well as the muscular. Lower part will be the muscular part, and upper part will be membranous. So it will continue. If you see here, this is the continuation, which will continue below up to some extent in the interventricular septum, between the two ventricles. That is called an interventricular septum. So you can see here, this is the small extension which will be going here. Okay, it is formed of connective tissue. It has the shape of figure 8. It looks like 8 figure 8. What is the function? It provides attachment to the atria and the ventricular musculature. Just like our skeleton, the bony skeleton gives attachment to the muscles of the body. Similarly, the heart muscles are attached to this. Okay, the atrial muscles are attached to this fibroskeleton, and the ventricular muscles are attached from below. Atrial muscles attached from above, and the ventricular muscles are attached from below. Okay, and supports the valves of the heart. As I said, these openings are guarded by valves. Okay, if there is no fibroskeleton, then this opening itself will collapse and the valves cannot function properly. So for the valves to work properly, it should be always open, and it also supports the valves for their attachment. So the valves are attached to this fibrous skeleton and they support the valves of the heart and gives attachment to the aortic as well as the pulmonary trunk also. As you can see here, there will be attachment of the pulmonary as well as the aortic trunks. Okay, so this is the fibrous skeleton of the heart. This is how it looks like. So these are the atrioventricular orifice guarded by valves. Here is the tricuspid valve and here is the bicuspid. Okay, around that there are fibrous rings around these openings. Here also you can see there is a fibrous ring. Similarly, for the aortic orifice there is a fibrous ring and pulmonary orifice there is a ring, fibrous ring. Okay, so all this okay. So around these openings, that is orifice, there are fibrous rings. Okay, around the atrioventricular, both right and left, as well as the semilunar valves. Here, these are the semilunar valves around the aortic and the pulmonary openings. So that is also guarded by from around by fibrous rings. So these fibrous rings and they are interconnected with each other. This is called as the fibrous skeleton of the heart. This whole thing, the fibrous ring outside as well as the interconnection between them. Okay, so this is called as the fibrous skeleton of the heart. Functions of the fibrous skeleton, as I said before, so it forms the central support of the heart because all the muscles, the atrial muscles as well as the ventricular muscles are attached to that. So there is no communication between them except this fibrous skeleton. Okay, it forms the central support of the heart, provides attachment to the bicuspid as well as the tricuspid valve directly, as we saw here. So it will be gives attachment to these valves. So these valves can properly function only when there is a fibrous skeleton. So there is a tricuspid, there is a bicuspid valve. So it is attached to the valves. Cardiac muscles fibers of the atria and the ventricle, as I said, the atria. If you can see here, this is seen. The atria have been removed, and you can see these are the ventricular muscles. If you see the ventricular muscle, all these are attached to the fibrous skeleton. Similarly, from above, there will be atrial muscles attached. So there is no communication between the atrial and ventricular muscles except through this fibrous skeleton. So fibrous skeleton will be separating the atrium from the ventricles. Membranous part of the interventricular septum. So this is the membranous part here, as well as a part extending below, as I showed you. So the interventricular septum. So here there is short part of this fibrous skeleton entering into the interventricular septum. That is the membranous part of the fibrous skeleton. So keeps the cardiac valves competent, as I said, because the valves can work only when there is the opening is kept intact, round. Okay, so that is done by these fibrous skeleton. Okay, so that's why it will keep the cardiac valves competent by keeping the opening orifice itself patent. Also acts as an electrical insulator. Insulator means which prevents the electrical impulses from passing from the atrium to the ventricle. So there are no impulses passing from the atrium to the ventricle through the muscle. So as you know, the cardiac muscle has a very special feature of producing its own electrical impulse as well as conduction. It also acts as like a nerve conducting the impulses. But because there is no connection between the atrial and ventricular muscle, so it acts as an electrical insulator. It prevents it blocks the direct spread of electrical impulse from the atria to the ventricle. Okay, so impulses only go through the bundle of His. We'll discuss this part, how it will go. So there is no communication between the atrium and the ventricle, and this is prevented by this fibrous skeleton. So the impulses will go only to the bundle of His. Okay, and it also prevents over dilatation. It not only prevents collapse, it also prevents over dilatation of the valve opening. Very important clinically, because there are conditions where the fibrous skeleton of the heart is damaged and it leads to weakening. Okay, Applied anatomy, that is weakening of it may lead to cardiac valve incompetence. So if the fibroskeleton is damaged, then it leads to cardiac valve incompetence. They cannot function properly. Means it can be incomplete closure leading to mitral regurgitation, aortic regurgitation, tricuspid regurgitation. Regurgitation means the backflow of blood, as well as sometimes there can be stenosis. Stenosis means narrowing of the opening itself. So all these conditions can happen because of the if there is the damage to the fibrous skeleton. So that's why the fibrous skeleton is very important. Now going to the conducting system of the heart. The conducting system, as I said, the cardiac muscle is very much specialized. Okay, specialized myocardium is responsible for the initiation as well as the conduction of the cardiac impulse. So the heart muscle is very much specialized to produce its own impulse as well as conducting it further, just like a nerve. Okay, so this muscle, so this cardiac muscle is very specialized. It includes the SA node, AV node, atrioventricular bundle, and bundle of His. So it begins from the SA node. So this is the SA node here, which is present. Okay, so this is the SA node, which is present here, and this is the main pacemaker of the heart. And below that, we have the AV node. This is the AV node. Okay, and then we have the atrioventricular bundle, the connection between the atrium and the ventricle is called as atrioventricular bundle. Okay, then it divides into right and left, then it divides into smaller branches. These are called as the Purkinje fibers. So all these are part of the conducting system of the heart. These are the main components of the heart: SA node, AV node, then the atrioventricular bundle, and the Purkinje fibers. Coming to the SA node, as I said, this is the main pacemaker of the heart. It can produce the impulse at the rate of 70 beats per minute. 70 beats per minute. Okay, that's why it is called as the pacemaker of the heart. As you know, if this doesn't function properly, then you put an external pacemaker. So whenever there is damage to this pacemaker, then they put an external pacemaker. So this is the pacemaker of the heart, that it produces the impulse of 70 per minute. Situation, it is present in the upper part of the crista terminalis near the opening of the superior vena cava. Near the opening of the superior vena cava is this SA node present, and the size is almost 10 to 20 millimeters in the length, and 3 centimeters breadth, and millimeters, and 1 millimeter in thickness. Okay, so as I said, it is the pacemaker. It is present in the right atrium. As you can see here, it is present in the right atrium, just below the opening of the superior. This is the superior vena cava, this is the inferior vena cava, both are opening into the right atrium. So just below the opening of the superior vena cava, on the crista terminalis, as we have already seen, crista terminalis. So it is in the upper part of the crista terminalis. As you know, the crista terminalis is that part which separates the rough part from the smooth part, the anterior rough part from the posterior smooth part. Okay, so this is where this SA node is present, at the opening of the superior vena cava and the beginning of the crista terminalis. This is the side where you can trace. If there is any damage to that, if you want to trace it, this is how you can trace it on the crista terminalis near the opening of the superior vena cava. It is crescentic in shape. As you can see here, it looks like crescentic. It initiates the excitation wave impulse in each cardiac cycle. Every cycle, it produces the electrical wave will be produced from this SA node, sinoatrial node. Then we have the second node, which is also present in the right atrium, but much more below. This is called as the atrioventricular node. This is a oval shaped structure. Okay, and the impulses produced at this level are at 60 per minute, less than that of the SA node. SA node produced at 70 beats per minute, but AV node beats at a lesser rate of 60 per minute. Okay, and the situation, it is present in a triangle here. There is a triangle called as triangle of Koch. So it is present in the triangle of Koch in the lower and posterior part of the interatrial septum between the two atrium. So between the two atrium, there is the intra-atrial septum. So it is present in the lower part of the intra-atrial septum, the angle of Koch. And the size is almost 10 millimeters smaller than that of the SA nodes. As you can see here, the SA node is from 10 to 20 millimeters, but this is smaller. It is the maximum is 10 millimeters. About the orifice of the coronary sinus, we have seen the coronary sinus is the largest vein which is draining the wall of the heart. So just near the opening, coronary sinus will be opening here. So just above that will be the SA node. Okay, so the AV node, atrioventricular node. Size, as I said, it is 8 millimeters to 10 millimeters in size, and as I said, it will be smaller than the SA node. These are the two nodes, the SA node and AV node, which can produce their own impulse. Now, how this impulse is carried to the ventricles? Okay. So there is something called as AV bundle, atrioventricular bundle. This is the bundle here, which is starting from the AV node and passing through the, I said there is no connection between the atrium and the ventricle because in between there is fibrous skeleton. So the impulse cannot go from the atrium to the ventricle. So the only connection is through this atrioventricular bundle. It is also called as bundle of His. His is the scientist who found this. So that is called as the bundle of His. Only muscular connection between the atrial and the ventricular musculature. So only connection, muscular connection. This is also muscle, even though it is acting like a nerve conducting the impulses, but this is also a muscle, cardiac muscle, specialized cardiac muscle. Okay. It transmits the cardiac impulse from the AV node to the ventricles, as I said. So this is the only connection, and it connects transmits the impulse from the AV node to the ventricles. It arises from the AV node and traverses this fibrous skeleton of the heart, descending behind the fibrous ring of the tricuspid orifice. So behind the tricuspid orifice, behind that it will go to reach the interventricular septum. Now it goes into the interventricular septum. There it descends along the posterior margin of the membranous part of the septum. As we saw, a part of the septum, fibrous skeleton will go as the membranous septum. Okay, so it goes the posterior margin of the part of the septum to reach the upper border of the muscular part. So the lower part is the muscular part. In that, the upper part of the muscular part where it divides into a right and left branches. Now you can see here, it has come as a single bundle of fibers. Now it divides into two branches, right and left. So these are called as the right and left bundle branch of His. So if these are damaged or blocked, then there are conditions called as BBB. It can be RBBB or left BBB, means right bundle branch block, RBBB. Or sometimes it can be LBBB, means left bundle branch block, when there is block in this right or the left branches. Okay, bundle branches. Okay, still they go further, still they are not dividing. So only there is division between the right and the left, then they go towards the right and the left side. So the right and left bundle branches of His will descend onwards on the right or left of the interventricular septum, distribute on the right and left ventricles. So the right bundle branch will distribute on the right and the left will divide on the left side. On the right side of the septum, it descends underneath the endocardium. Endocardium, what is endocardium? It is the inner lining of the heart. Okay, endocardium covering close to the cavity of the right ventricle. So it goes up to the right ventricle as far as the moderator band. It will go up to here, which is called as the septomarginal trabeculae, or the moderator band, where passes through the moderator band to reach the base of the anteapellar muscle, where it breaks up into the network of Purkinje fibers. So it will go all the way up to the bases of these the papillary muscles, where then it divides into multiple branches and supply the whole of the ventricle. Similarly, on the left side, the left bundle branch of His runs beneath the endocardium of the septum, facing the cavity of the left ventricle towards the apex of the heart. So it also goes towards the apex of the heart at the base of the two papillary muscles, the fascicles of the bundle branch break up into network of Purkinje fibers. So so all these fibers will go down up to the bases of the papillary muscles, and then they break up into multiple fibers. That is called as the Purkinje fibers. So till they go to the papillary muscle, they will be in the form of bundle branch block. Once they reach the base of these papillary muscles, then they divide into smaller branches called as the Purkinje fibers. So what are these Purkinje fibers? They are nothing but the subendocardial plexus of nerve. They are nothing but the division of the bundle branch block into smaller branches, and they form a plexus. Subendocardial means just below the endocardium. So they are divided into multiple branches of and form a plexus. Okay. The Purkinje fibers in each ventricle encircle the base of the papillary muscle. As I said, so these Purkinje fibers will be divided at the base of the papillary muscle, then ascend beneath the endocardium towards the base of the ventricle, and they spread everywhere up to the base of the ventricle. Okay. This arrangement ensures that the ventricle contracts from below upward. This is very important. Why they will go up to the base of the papillary muscles and then they divide? Because if they divide above and they start giving the impulses, then the ventricle will start contracting from above. So instead, here they will go up to the base of the papillary muscle, and from there they break up. So when they produce the impulse will be produced from below upwards. So the contraction starts from below the heart and push the blood into the aorta or the pulmonary trunk. This arrangement is very important. This arrangement ensures that the ventricles contract from below upwards. This is very important, so that the blood is pumped up through the big arteries, that is the aorta and the pulmonary trunk, and is not trapped in the ventricle. So this arrangement of Purkinje fibers going up to the base of the papillary muscle is very important. Note, the whole of the conducting system is supplied by the right coronary artery. Okay, as we have stated before, the main supply to the conducting system, especially the SA node and AV node, is by the right coronary artery. Even though the left coronary artery also gives a branch, but the main supply is from the right coronary artery, except a part of the left AV bundle supplied by the left coronary artery. Most of the part is supplied by the right coronary artery. So defect to this system will lead to cardiac arrhythmias. Again, this cardiac arrhythmias you will see when you go to the clinical side, where the heart will not beat properly. The regular rhythm is lost. These are called as the cardiac arrhythmias. So this defect is because of the non-properly functioning of the conducting system. Maybe because of the blood supply or because of the blockage or something like that. Okay. So all these improper conducting system damage will lead to cardiac arrhythmias. Okay. Finally, we are going to the nerve supply of the heart. Nerve supply of the heart. The nerve supply of the heart is by cardiac plexus. So internally, we have seen already there is conducting system, SA node, AV node, and the bundle branch bundle branch, then the Purkinje fiber. This is the internal production of its own impulse and the conduction. But externally, it is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so this is the nerve supply from outside, which is controlled by the brain itself. Okay, brain is controlling the heart, even though the heart can beat up on its own, but it is also controlled by the brain itself. So this is through the autonomic nervous system. So this is called as the nerve supply of the heart. The nerve supply of the heart is by cardiac plexus. Cardiac plexus. So just like the pulmonary plexus and other plexuses, similarly the plexus is nothing but a network of nerves. Okay, many nerves coming joining together to form a network that is called as plexus. So with the plexus which is supplying the heart, that will be cardiac plexus. So it is by the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic component. Autonomic nervous system always have the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Parasympathetic will be mainly by the vagus nerve. Okay. The atria and the conducting system have innervated by both the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Remember this, the atria and the conducting system both are finally controlled by the autonomic nervous system, both sympathetic and parasympathetic. But remember, ventricle muscle has only sympathetic innervation. There is no parasympathetic innervation. There is no vagal connection for the ventricles. Atria and conducting system are controlled by the both sympathetic and parasympathetic, but the ventricles are only controlled by the sympathetic innervation. So what is this cardiac plexus? So this cardiac plexus is nothing but, as I said, it is a network of nerves situated at the base of the heart. Where is the base of the heart? It is behind the atria, both the atria. So here will be the plexus of nerve behind the heart. Okay, so not the this is not the base. There are diaphragmatic surface. Base is behind, as you know. Okay, so behind the heart will be the base of the heart where this plexus is present. Has two parts, superficial and deep cardiac plexus. So this cardiac plexus is divided into two parts, superficial as well as the deep cardiac plexus. So what is this superficial and what is the difference between superficial and deep cardiac plexus? The superficial cardiac plexus is situated below the arch of the aorta. If you see here, this is the arch of the aorta. So just below that is the superficial cardiac plexus in front of the right pulmonary artery, just in front of the right pulmonary artery. How it is formed? Formed by a cardiac branch from the superior cervical ganglion of the left sympathetic trunk. There are, as you know, there are two sympathetic trunks, right and left. So a cardiac branch coming from the superior cervical ganglion only from the left sympathetic trunk by two lower two cervical cardiac branches of the left vagus nerve. So both these will be forming the superficial cardiac plexus. The cardiac branch from the superior cervical ganglion, so superior cervical ganglion of the left sympathetic trunk, and by lower two cervical branches of the left vagus. Okay, so it is not shown here. This is more for the deep cardiac plexus than the superficial. Okay, so this is the formation by the vagus nerve as well as the superior cervical ganglion from the left side. So what are the branches coming from this plexus? They form a plexus and branch to the deep part of the cardiac plexus. So its branches will go to the deep cardiac plexus, to the right coronary plexus, as well as to the left anterior pulmonary plexus. So it will supply all these plexuses. Coming to the deep cardiac plexus, it has right and left halves. Okay, situated in front of the bifurcation of the trachea. So this is the trachea. Just in front of that will be the plexus. Okay, that is the deep cardiac plexus, formed by a cardiac branch of the superior, middle, and inferior cervical ganglion. If you see here, so this is the superior, middle, and inferior cervical ganglion. In the cervical region, there will be three cervical ganglions. This is the sympathetic chain on the right side, and there will be sympathetic chain on the left side. Both the sides there will be. For simplification, they are shown only on the one side. Okay, so the branches from the superior, middle, and there are only three ganglions in the neck, superior, middle, and inferior. So all these will give branches. So the cardiac branches of the superior, middle, as well as inferior cervical ganglion, from all the three it will be going here. Then T1 to T5 ganglion of the both sympathetic trunks. So T1 to T5. So all these branches also go to from T1 to T5, also go from the sympathetic trunk to this plexus. Then cardiac branches of the vagus, there will be a separate nerve coming from here, that is the vagus, and its branch called as the recurrent laryngeal nerve of both the sides also gives the plexus, and they all form plexus here. So the branches from the superior, middle, and inferior cervical ganglion, as well as the T1 to T5 ganglion of sympathetic chain or the sympathetic trunk. Then the cardiac branches of the vagus nerve again not shown here, it is shown here. Okay, so this is the vagus nerve, as well as a recurrent branch. A branch will go back, that is called as a recurrent branch. Again, you cannot see that recurrent branch. A branch will be given here that will go above. Okay, so that is called as recurrent laryngeal nerve. So that nerve as well as the vagus nerve, both the cardiac branches of this will all form a plexus that is called as the deep cardiac plexus. Okay, so this is all about the nerve supply. So the heart is supplied externally by the superficial cardiac branch, the superficial cardiac plexus, as well as the deep cardiac plexus, consisting of both the components, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is mainly by the vagus, and the sympathetic is from the ganglions, cervical ganglions, as well as the upper thoracic ganglia. Okay, T1 to T5. Okay, and they will be mainly supplied, both the sympathetic and parasympathetic will be supplying the atria and the conducting system, but the ventricle are supplied only by the sympathetic trunks. Okay, so this is all about the nerve supply of the heart, the fibrous skeleton, as well as the conducting system. So if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask me now.
Okay, doctor, I have a small question.
Yeah.
Is the SA node conduct the impulse to the right and left atrium at the same time?
Yeah.
So is there a pathway to the left atrium? Because we see just the right.
Yeah. This is I said the muscle of the heart itself has the capacity to conduct. So it will be conducting in every direction, everywhere, wherever the muscles are there, the fibers will be carrying the impulses, the cardiac muscle fibers. But for ventricles, because there is no connection between the atrium and the ventricle, so there is a special conducting system that is called a bundle of His. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So all the muscles will be carrying the impulse. So it will go wherever the muscles are there, both to the right as well as the left atrium. Anything else?
Doctor?
Yeah.
The number is lecture. It is important.
Which one? Numbers?
Numbers, yes.
There are very few numbers you can remember, inshallah. I don't think it will be difficult for you. Few numbers only. Sometimes it might be important as an MCQ. Okay, so sometimes we might ask. Okay. Just wait, let me take your attendance and then I can do. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. If you don't have any questions, you can leave.
Thank you, doctor.